kindergarten, this is Miss Gonzalez, and this is the artwork that we're going to do for the week. So I want you guys to go ahead and break this up each day, maybe spending 15 minutes or a little bit longer depending on how fast you go, because again, this is going to be spread out all the way through Friday. I expect you guys to all be finished by Friday. If you do finish a little early, let's say on Thursday, that's totally fine. Go ahead and go on my YouTube channel where you found this video, and there's going to be some extra art videos that you could do, or you can go to one of the other grade level videos and do one of those and kind of alter it to your level and capabilities. I'm fine with that. And then if you are watching this at home and you are not in kindergarten, again, you're more than welcome to do this as well. Just make sure you're also doing your assigned project first before you jump into this. And that goes for you guys as well. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. You're gonna need some paper, a Sharpie, but if you do not have a Sharpie, no worries. You can also just use a regular black marker. You could use a black pen. Totally up to you. It's just what you guys have lying around. In fact, for mine, I just used a black pen. That's why the lines here are so thin. And you're also going to need a pencil. Now, for the sake of time, I'm not going to do mine. Typically, as you guys know, when we're in class, we always start off with a pencil first and our eraser, because we want to make sure that if we make a mistake, we can easily erase it. But again, for the sake of time, I'm just going to start off with my black Sharpie first, but for you guys at home, please start off with the pencil first, and then once we have everything drawn, you're going to go back over it with your black pen, marker, whatever black utensil that you guys do at home. So if you are using a Sharpie, make sure you have some extra paper underneath, otherwise the Sharpie is going to bleed onto the table and stain it. So you're going to put your finger smack dab in the middle of your white paper, and you're going to want to make sure that your fingers are spread apart, because if they're like this, you're not going to be able to do cool patterns in each individual finger, okay? And we also want to make sure our hand isn't up here like this, because we want to get our wrist in just like we have in our finished example. So I'm going to spread my fingers out pretty good. And how I like to do it is I don't like going inwards like this, otherwise you're going to get black all over your fingers and your skin, and we don't want that because it's hard to get out. So instead I'm going to go straight up like this instead of doing it on its side. And I'm going to start at the hand first. I'm not going to start at my wrist because I'm wearing a watch and I don't want to get it on my watch. I forgot to take it off before we started this. So I'm going nice and slow. And notice, again, I'm just going, my marker never goes on its side. It's straight up the entire time. And again, that's how I get it to not get on my skin. And it turns out pretty good. Now, we don't want our hand floating on our white piece of paper. We want to make sure we have our wrist like we have here. So you could either trace your wrist, but again, I have my watch on and I think I want to keep it on. So I'm just going to pull, go straight down like that. And now I have my wrist. Okay, so a big part of this is all about repetition and pattern. So repetition just means repeating itself, and a pattern is the same thing. It's something that repeats itself. So in each finger, you can see that we have a pattern. And there's two types of patterns. We have the pattern of lines, straight, zigzag, wavy, circles, straight, zigzag, wavy, circles, okay? And that just repeats itself forever. And then we have another type of pattern. So it's the same line pattern on each finger, but what else is there? There is a color pattern. So we have the almost like a magenta, green, yellow, blue, orange, a deep pink, and then a light pink. And that literally repeats itself on each and every finger. Okay, so get your pen out, your black marker, or your black Sharpie, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to start with our pinky first, and we're going to do a straight line. Now notice I don't do the straight line all the way at the tip. I kind of leave a little bit of room, so almost like where the bottom of your nail would be, that's where I start my pattern. So straight line, zigzag, wavy, 2 circles, and we want to make sure those are shut, closed circles, straight line again, zigzag, and wavy line. Okay, so if you're looking at this pinky compared to this one, notice that this one ends on a 2 circles, and that's fine. The reason why this one looks a little different, it's the same pattern. The only difference is, since I was using a thin pen Sharpie, I was able to do the lines closer together, and so I had more room to do more of the pattern, unlike this one, because I'm using a little bit of a thicker utensil. So we're going to repeat this. Straight, zigzag, wave, 2 circles, straight, zigzag, wave. Okay, so we got our nice little pattern so far. Make sure that you're not going right on top of each other. So for example, we don't want, and see how it already bled through, that's why I have this piece of paper under there. I'm going to trace just these 2 to show you guys the example. If I'm doing straight, zigzag, wave, 2 circles, straight, zigzag, wave. See how close together this all is compared to this where I have it nicely spaced out? It's hard to see what's even going on. It looks messy. And again, they're just too close together, because if they're that close together, you won't have room to do individual colors in each one, and we want to make sure we have that. So just keep that in mind as you're going along. We're going to start with our middle finger now. Straight, zigzag, wave, 2 circles, straight, zigzag, wave, and then let's see what comes after this wave. We have 2 circles, straight line. Okay, and we always make sure after a pattern for each finger, we're going to stop right when we get to the end of our finger. So if you're still following along with me right now, if you need to pause it because you're kind of trying to catch up, if I'm going too fast, please make sure you do pause it. But if you're going a little bit ahead of me, you can go ahead and speed up this video. It's up to you guys. You have the capability to speed it up or slow it down or pause it. Straight, zigzag, wave, 2 circles, straight, zigzag, wave, 2 circles. Okay, and then last but not least, our thumb. Straight, zigzag, wave, 2 circles, straight. Okay, so now we are done with our patterns on our fingers, and let's look at our finished example to see what to do next. So next we're going to work on the inside of our hand. Okay, and we kind of have another pattern going on, and what's more important is that well, not more important, but I just want to point out that these colors are Roy G. Biv. Roy G. Biv stands for red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Okay, those are the colors of the rainbow, and very important in art. So indigo is going to be a dark blue, violet is going to be purple. Okay, so we did all the colors in the rainbow right in here. Now, I know it might be hard if you guys do not have a dark blue, and that's fine. Maybe use a light blue for this by just going very gently, and for the dark blue, just press harder so it looks darker. Okay, and again, if you don't have some of these colors, that's fine. Use what you have. If you don't have, let's say, orange or green, skip those. Repeat a different color. It's really up to what you guys have at your house. All right, so we're gonna go underneath right here. I would start up here, but if I did that, I would knock into this pinky. So I'm gonna curve the line like that. And let's count and see how many lines we have on here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 1, 2. So think of this as rainbow lines because we're doing curved lines. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, if the curved line is a little bit too hard for you, that's fine. Maybe just do straight lines. All right, so then we have these flower petals kind of on top and at the bottom. So I'm gonna do them kind of small right here because again, they're kind of bumping into the pattern I have on my pinky. And going like this. What we don't want to do, guys, is this. We don't want to do them really arched like that. Instead of going straight up like we're doing right there to get this really high arch, we're gonna go low. Because when you go low, it's more, you get more of that wide angle that we want instead of this high arch. So make sure, you know, to avoid doing this, you don't go straight up. Okay. Let's go ahead and continue that on top, and then I'm gonna move to the bottom and finish it up. Okay. And on the bottom, the only difference is they're upside down. So you can think of the bottom ones as U's. Okay. And I didn't do a whole bunch of really tiny ones. We want them nice and big so that we can fill them in with color. Everything on here, you should make sure you're doing big, you're spacing things apart so we have lots and lots of room to add our beautiful colors. Now for the bottom, we have stripes. So these are horizontal lines right here. That means they go side to side. And here, these are vertical lines, which means they go straight up and down. So we're going to do our vertical lines and practice doing that down here. We want to do them where there's this space. So we see a space right here, so we're going to go straight down. We don't want to go in the middle of these. Again, we're looking for this space. So there we go. I have 1, 2, and I'm going to leave it at 2. I had, I think, 1, 2, I think I had a little bit more in here, and that's fine. I'm going to leave it like this for that. It's not going to look exactly like the finished one that I did because I am using some different materials and doing things a little bit differently. Now let's move on to our background, which is really fun. We have a whole bunch of different sized circles, okay? We have some big circles, we have some small circles, and we have some medium-sized circles, okay? And we want a nice variety for our artwork, so we're gonna make sure that we do all 3 sizes spread out throughout here. Sometimes when we do circles in class, I see a lot of students doing their circles all in a row. And we don't want them all in a row. Again, if you're looking at them here, they're all spaced out. And it just makes it look a little neater and nicer as opposed to all in a row. Again, our circles too, we want to make sure we're going slow and we're closing them. We can do circles that maybe if we're having trouble, mine's a little wiggly and that's fine. They don't need to be a perfect circle by any means, but what we don't want is to go super fast like this, because when you're doing that, look what happens. We have space in our circle because we did not close it off, okay? And we want our circles closed off. I'm gonna move that there, and I'm gonna go ahead and start. I'm gonna start in this bottom right-hand corner, and I'm gonna start by doing a big circle. And then I'm going to do copycat circles on the inside. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. I'm going to try and do 3 circles in each one. And the reason why I say 3 is because if you do more than that, watch this, 1. So that's just our regular circle. Let's say I'm going to try and get more than 3. It doesn't look as nice, does it? Because we just put way too many in. Here we can actually see each individual line. They're not running into each other like they are here. They're nice and spread out and you can see it better. Right, so put that down and we're going to continue. So let's aim for 3 in each one. Make sure you're counting so that you don't mess up. Now, what I also want to do is I'm actually going to do it down here. I'm going to do a semicircle. Semicircle is a half a circle and it's off the page. So almost think of it as doing a rainbow. So we have 1, 2, 3, okay? Now I have almost 2 medium-sized ones, so I need to break this up and do some different sizes. So now I'm going to do a small one. 1, 2. I'm not going to fit 3 inside here. I can only fit 1, and that's totally perfectly fine. You don't want to overdo it. Now I'm going to do kind of like a medium shaped one right here. 1, 2. Again, I was unable to fit 3. That's fine. As long as we're not going over 3, totally fine. Now I did a semicircle on the bottom, and I want a semicircle on my right hand side. So I'm thinking I'm going to do one right here. I'm going to make it pretty big. And this is nice because we're not only practicing our circles, but we're practicing semicircles. And it's really nice doing them on the inside because it's just really good practice for that. So now I'm going to do another one. 1, 2. And I'm going to put a big one right in this corner because we have a lot of empty space here. If you want, let's go ahead and do a tiny one right here. So there's some space right there as well. So big circle. 1, 2, 3. All right. So I think we're done with this side. We don't need any more. This is already a lot. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8, which is nice. It's a nice even number. So that means when I'm coloring, I can do 4 one color and 4 the other color. Now I'm going to start up top. Now, just like we did a semicircle on the bottom, and just like we did a semicircle on the right, we're going to go ahead and do a semicircle on the top of our page. Do it like this. And if it's kind of hard for you doing it like this, you could always flip it over like this. And again, pretend like you're making a rainbow. And that might be a little easier for you. I'm going to turn mine back over. I'm going to go ahead and do kind of like a medium-sized one right here in this corner, because I already have a big one here and kind of a big one here. 1, 2, 3. All right, let's get a tiny one here, because you want to make sure that you don't have the same sizes all right next to each other. You want to switch off between all 3 sizes. So I have big, medium, a small. I'm thinking I need another big one, and you know what? What a perfect space to do another semicircle. We have one up top, to the right, at the bottom. We need one on our left hand side, so I'm going to do a big one. 1, 2, 3. All right, and then let's get a medium-sized one right here. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to do a tiny one now. 1. Oh, only have 1 though. And then I'm going to go ahead and at the very bottom, just do one last one right here. So 1, 2, 3. All right, and your picture is done. The drawing part, at least. Again, all of this should be done in pencil. So this is probably going to be maybe split between day 1 and 2, so Monday and Tuesday. Again, pencil. Then once you're done with that, you're going to get your black Sharpie, marker, or pen, and trace it all. And then let's get out a big eraser to erase our pencil lines once we've done that, okay? Because we already have it outlined in our nice black. So now we're going to have a little bit of fun and start doing our colors. So you can use markers, crayons, colored pencils. I have all of them spread out before me, and I think I'm going to use a little bit of each of them. If there is something that I use that you guys do not have at your home, that's totally fine. Use what you have. It does not have to be what I have here on the table. So I am going to start off with markers. I like doing the markers in the hand because I think it just makes it brighter and makes it pop. So I'm going to start with that. And I'll go ahead and do it like I have it in here so you guys can see. I am not going to go ahead and do it every single finger and every single hand. I'm gonna just do the pinky and this finger right here, and then I'll do a couple right here, just to give you an idea of how we want to be coloring and the strokes that we want to be using. And then you guys can always pause it on here to finish doing all of the color yourself, okay? All right, so I'm gonna start with this color right here. I'm using Crayola, and look how I am coloring it in. Nice even strokes. I'm picking my pencil up after each line I am coloring. Okay, very nice. And I'm going to go ahead and do this one right here because it's the same color. Again, look at the tips of each finger. It's all in this dark magenta color because we're doing patterns with color. All right, what's the next color you guys see under the pink? It is this nice seafoam green. So I'm gonna get that color out. And again, watch how I'm doing this. Before I was going side to side horizontally. Now I'm gonna go vertically. And we want to go very, very slowly, take our time, and make sure that we are not getting our markers on the black part, because if you get your marker on the black part, then it kind of messes up the tips of your markers. It turns it a different color, like a blackish color, because you're getting it on black. And that's even more important when you use colors like yellow. You know that if you go over yellow or go on top of black with a yellow, it really stains the tip. I'm gonna go a little faster here. Okay, so after yellow, we have a dark blue. And we want to avoid the circles here, so we're really gonna go very slow, picking our marker up after each stroke we do. This really helps me stay in control of where my marker is going, as opposed to going really fast, almost like scribbling. Because when you do that, it just it starts to get out of the lines, and then you actually end up missing a whole bunch of space, and we have a lot of white cracks that we end up wanting to fill in. All right, after dark blue, we're going to do orange. Then I'm going to go up and down for this one. I think it's easier because of the line that we have underneath it with the zigzag. I'm going to do the same thing in this finger. Okay. And let's see, after orange we have a pink. Now the pink in here is a little different than this color pink, but that's okay. Or let's see, oh, no, that's a different one. We'll just use this one. All right, so I'm gonna go horizontally again. Try and do the nice even strokes. And this gives you a really good idea of why we wanted to create a good amount of space in between each pattern line that we did, so that we have something to color in. So you guys are going to go ahead and finish doing your pattern. If you do not want to do these colors patterns, you can choose other colors, but remember, it needs to be a pattern, so it has to repeat itself on each finger. Now we're going to do the Roy G. Biv down here. Okay, so we're starting off with our red. Watch how I am coloring this. I know it's faster if you were to do this, but what looks nicer? This definitely looks nicer. You get the nice, it looks a lot smoother. And then here, you have all this white space. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill it in like how I did it over here. I just want you guys to see. It may be faster, but it doesn't necessarily look any nicer. So now that we have filled in all the space, I'm gonna move on to orange. And again, make sure that when you guys are doing this, if you see any white spaces, you go back over it so that they are covered up. So I'm gonna stop after this orange because we're gonna move on to other parts now that you guys get the idea of how we want to color ours. We're gonna move on to the background. So for the background, I'm gonna pick two colors. I already have them out here. I'm gonna use a light pink and a turquoise. In here, I used a light green and a red. Now it's up to you what colors you want to choose. These, I just wanted to try something a little different on this one. Also, the color that you do right in here could be whatever color you want. That's what I ended up doing. You can do whatever colors you want here, but again, let's maybe pick two. You can have them be a pattern. The two colors I chose were kind of the ones that I also did on the background. So I'm going to start off with this turquoise, and the reason why I wanted to use crayons for this is because if you decide to do watercolors, it doesn't bleed. So if you were to do this in marker and put water on top of it, it would turn into a big muddy mess. But crayons resist the water, which is why you're still able to see the color of the circle we're doing in crayon. And that might be a little confusing, so I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. let me just get a couple of these done and then we'll do that. So making sure we get all of it colored in really good. And there really is no technique to the coloring of these. We just want to make sure we don't see any white space. All right, and now I have a lot of pink and I only have one blue, so the next color I use needs to be a turquoise. Because we don't want them to all be one color right next to each other. You don't see that in here either. Okay, I'm going to do pink here, blue, and we're going to do blue up here. All right. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 blue and 1, 2, 3, 4 pink, making it nice and even. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. You don't want to have 6 of them all one color and only 2 of them the other color, because that just wouldn't balance itself out. This is nice and balanced because we have half blue, half pink. Okay. All right. So I'm going to set these aside and I'm going to go ahead and get some watercolors out. I'm using the Praying washable watercolors. All right. I'm going to go ahead and move our example piece out of the way just right here. I'll bring it back in a second. All right, and you're going to need a cup of water. So I'm going to get my brush wet first, and I think the color I'm going to use is going to be green. Now, when I'm using the green, I'm just going to go gently back and forth, up and down. I'm not going to twist it like this really hard because 1, it ruins the brush, and 2, you get holes in your watercolor palette. So I don't want to use a whole lot of water either because this is just regular printer paper. Okay, it's very thin paper. It's not super great quality, so I don't want to accidentally make a hole in my paper because I put too much water. This was watercolor paper. It's just a little bit thicker paper. So you do not have to have this. I'll show you by using this thinner paper that is not necessarily a need, as long as you don't add too much water. So notice I'm getting it on my blue crayon, and it is resisting it so you can still see the blue. That would not be the case if you were using markers. Now you still might see a little bit of green on the blue. I don't know if you guys can see. I can, just because again, it's not super great quality paper, but that's all right. I think it looks very nice. And also, actually, it is resisting the crayon. The reason why you can see a little bit of green inside the pink or blue is because that's where there's a little bit of white space from not filling it in all the way with my crayon. So I think the green looks nice. If you want to add in another color, you can. I think maybe yellow might look nice added in. It just gives me another color green in here. I'm going to go back to the green. And being very careful to avoid our hand, because again, if we get this wet, it's not going to be good combination with that marker. So here we go. And I'm going to go ahead and stop here because I think you guys get the idea. If you do not have watercolors, go ahead and use either the markers you have, crayons. You could use colored pencils. I have some colored pencils here. I think it almost might be nice if you wanted to use maybe like a black. And I'm pressing down lightly so it's just like a nice pastel-y black and not too dark. You could do that instead of the watercolors. Really, it's up to you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and move this over and bring this back. Okay, so if you're coming back to this every single day, just make sure you mark where you've left off so you know where to pick it back up. You can pause this to really see what colors and make sure you're doing it right. If you guys have any questions at all, please send me an email. You're going to hold on to these pieces of artwork because on Fridays we're going to do a little art show via Zoom or Google Classroom, whichever one your class uses. to show off what we've done. And please hold on to the extra art pieces that maybe you've done that I have on my YouTube channel, or the ones from other grades, so that you can share those with us, with me and your classmates as well. I hope you guys enjoyed doing this and had a